What if I told you there's a world out there with the most beautiful gleaming colors? A world full of mesmerizing treasures where you find joy and purity and abundance. What if I told you that you could find an endless universe within yourself? Are you ready for a journey? Then come with us and discover the colors of the universe. Now, on Ascension Radio, Studio 3.
Hello everyone and welcome to Ascension Radio Studio 3. This is the Colors of the Universe. I'm your host Evie and you are listening to the second part of our recent interview with Freya, in which she talked about her journey from cancer to healing, how her spiritual guide has been helping her and showing her what the future will look like.
So he's shown me the future, when these advanced technologies are released, and it's just absolutely amazing because the entire landscape of this planet will change. Like I said, flying cars, free energy, everyone's happy, trees are coming back, greenery, we're getting back in touch with nature, growing our own food, being healthy. Health becomes so vital for us in the future. It is a paramount part of our society. It's not a trendy thing, like it is in this reality. It's trendy to be healthy and it's fashionable, and that's not the reason to be healthy. The reason to be healthy is that your life is a gift. And it's just like a plant. It needs to be nurtured and watered and taken care of and looked after and fortified. And it's the government's job, believe it or not, they have a job, and that is to fortify people, humanity, to progress humanity, to give us a leg to stand on and to watch us flourish. That is the job of the government, which we have the complete opposite right now. Right. So he's shown me the future. It isn't far away. If we stay on track, this is what will be coming. It's not coming in 30 years. It's coming in 2 years. Like I keep seeing that. I'm very adamant about that number. I see 2 years and the change happens. Like it gets off the ground to the point where no one's in denial. We will definitely have free energy because you know what? We already have it. The power companies use free energy and charge us to use an equipment that delivers free energy. So it's already out there. It's, we just don't know about it. And our ignorance is their surplus of money. Our ignorance doesn't fuel the matrix, it financially supports it.
Funds it, right. Yep.
Yeah, it funds the matrix. So we need to wake up from that right away and stop giving these people our money. For 7 years I've been screaming, shop local, stay away from the giants because they're out to get us. So that's all true. And this COVID-19 has really illustrated that point, where you talked about small businesses. I mean, the small businessman doesn't exist anymore. If you want to work, you have to work for the big corporations because they control those corporations, and one day they intend to close the doors on everyone and make you go home, lock you in your home, sequester you from some other fake illness, not that it's fake, but man-made illness, and make you dependent on the government, and they win.
Right.
They win at that point. And
nobody's growing their own food, and nobody knows how to take care of themselves.
Yeah, they're priming us right now for their version of the future. Stay home and collect a check. See how good that feels? You didn't work for it. It was easy. They want you to be that mind-controlled slave, that drone, who just puts a handout, and this is the future. They can control you from inside your house. They can't control you when they don't know where you are all the time. It's being in your home is very important to them. That's why all the celebrities have their stay home commercials. Just stay indoors, just stay home. It's a new world. It's a new normal. It's a new reality. No, it isn't.
And now something else really that is so interesting and manipulative is the whole thing with the mask, and that they are making us break even more of that human connection and the social distancing, and to make sure that you can't connect with people anymore, and nobody can see your face, and we're muzzled and we're controlled, and you go out to the store and nobody wants to look at each other or stand next to each other, and the communication is gone.
Yeah. Humanity is the disease, is the true disease in their eyes, and always has been. And what's interesting is they hate us, but they need us.
And cool.
They need us for a lot of reasons, not just for their youth serums, right?
Right.
But those of us who believe we have the God spark. And I've just been looking around for the past couple of years, maybe a little bit more, since this whole revolution started. And these Antifa, however you want to say it, Antifa people. Have you looked at those people? Have you seen the confusion that they're under? The programming, the mind control, the brainwashing. Some of them are, I don't want to disparage anybody's, choices or conditions or anything, but I mean, they're very confused people. They're binary people.
It goes back to what you were talking about, the toxicity.
Yeah, it's beyond that. They've been. It's not any one thing too, and that's what people have to remember. We're being hit from every area of existence. We're being targeted from every part of our reality. So there's food, but then there's what Eve and I were talking about during the break. There's these mind control systems that are out there. They're invisible. So how would you know they're there? There's 5G, Neuralink. When I was studying AI, I mean, these devices read your mind. If you wanted to, you could communicate with AI right now and it would respond to you. And not only that, all of this interface with the internet is causing us to interact with the AI, whether we know it or not, and it's learning from us. It's learning about the human condition. And since it's, a million times more intelligent than we are, maybe tens of millions of times more, it's mastering our thought pattern, how we do things. It's looking at us like we're ants and saying, oh, well, he's going to do this next.
It's 10 steps ahead of us. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's so, I mean, it can, process information so much faster than we can. So it's way out there, and it's just watching us, predicting what we're going to do next, and then notifying, of course, the cabal, the elite people. But that's another story for another time. But what I'm saying is it's in everything that we do. It's here. It's kind of alive. It's sentient. And it's watching us. Skynet is online. Skynet is real from Terminator, which is it's just the sickest thought to me is that something like that is actually real. I met a gentleman who worked on Skynet, he said, back in the 80s.
Wow.
He's a software developer, but one of those advanced genius kinds of people. And he and his partner worked on Skynet, and his partner is no longer with us because he was talking too much.
Wow.
And this gentleman's entire life has been ruined. I think he's maybe in his 40s or 50s now, and his life is over. And, there are people who worked at Google. I don't know if you remember this article, and they all walked out because they found out about artificial intelligence and some of the advancements that happened when they brought in the quantum computers, which is old tech now. A bunch of people quit and they said, we don't want any part of what Google's doing. We don't want any part of this. But they never said what it was. Well, that was enough to raise the hairs on the back of my neck, because I had already known about Skynet from a few years before this happened. And I was like, wow, is this still going on? Because it's definitely something you want to kind of be in denial about at times, because it's so frightening.
Right.
And whatever it was, they walked out and quit. Like, I mean, hundreds of people left Google because of what they were involved in. And the head of Google, I forgot his name, but he quit and he went on to work for Alphabet, and he said, I'm going to create an AI god. That's what I'm going to do. And I was like, oh, really? Like, okay, why do you need to of course, you need to do that because you're a cabal member. And anything you can do to get us away from the true divine creator, I mean, they're tripping over themselves to do it. And if you remember that sort of festival they had for the Goddard tunnel opening?
Yes, that was insane. Yes.
Yeah. Well, at the very end of it, they reveal on that monitor, they revealed the AI god. So what they were doing in that ceremony was showing us all the phases they're going to lead humanity through to get to this result where we're forced to worship. In the end, they were all bowing to this screen. And in the end, they want us to be forced to worship their false god, and they're not going to ask you to do it. They're not going to ask you if you would like to do it. They're going to weed out humanity, and those that are left are going to be their slaves.
The obedient ones, yeah.
They're digital slaves.
That actually reminds me on something that Tamara and I discussed yesterday, I think. Lately, we've seen quite a bunch of information all of a sudden being put out there about, quote, Jesus, or Yeshua, how he's actually called, and all kinds of theories. But have you noticed anything like that as well? That all of a sudden there's being put out a lot of fairly new theories about Jesus?
Yeah, definitely.
Because I had the thought that the Cabal puts out even more theories during this time, because more people are starting to become spiritual again and look for the truth, and also the truth what was going on 2,000 years ago.
Yeah, it's hard to say. That's another thing that I'm still seeking truth about, not about Jesus or Yeshua personally, or himself, I mean. But I don't like to tell people what to believe or what to think. But I definitely believe, and I definitely have respect for that aspect of life. And but I have seen those new things that are sort of popping up, but in certain communities or certain parts of our community. And so I used to be a New Age person, and I don't really care what people choose for themselves to believe in. I just want you to find something that's positive and that propels humanity into the proper future, the proper timeline. But there's a lot of people who don't believe in, a creator, and they don't believe in, Yeshua. And so the elite are aware of that, or people in the community are aware of that. And so they will spin these stories because they know, because a lot of people feel to be awake is not to believe in the old things. I'm definitely about new things in the future, but I also have respect for the past, our history. I have respect for growing up, with religion, although I don't consider myself a religious person. But that foundation was very important to the person that I am today, and I value that. But a lot of people feel, to reject, a creator and a God is to be an awakened individual, and I do not think the two are mutually exclusive. As a matter of fact, Q has been drawing people towards religion and towards, a belief in God, and sort of solidifying that because he quotes scripture, for one thing. But so there's definitely been a move back, to the beginning, because that's what we do as a society. What we do is we advance. Something tragic happens because we don't know what we're doing. We blow something up, or, like Atlantis blew itself up or whatever happened there. And we start over again. So we're forced to go back to the basics. And I listen to people that are connected to Space Force. One gentleman is part of Space Force that I listen to. And he says, there's been a temporal war. There's been a timeline war. Tamara, just correct me this one last
Both
time.
are good. Both are good. Doesn't matter.
Okay. Well, when you were talking about the Schumann resonance showing these black spots or just blank spots where there's like no activity, how can there be no activity? Well, he was saying that we're actually moving off of the Draco timeline that we were placed on back in the 1600s, and we're moving into our rightful timeline, or our correct timeline. And this was talked about when Project Looking Glass was popping up in our community and quite popular. This has to do with the timeline wars, because they were looking down specific timelines, the elite, and they were seeing how they could, further their agenda, like what things needed to happen, like a ritual. This, and this needs to all be in alignment, taking place or happening, to know that you're on this timeline that's most favorable to your final outcome, which is total world dominance and destruction of everything living. And so they would constantly look down these various timelines to find out what things needed to be in place by a certain time in order to ensure that timeline would be successful. So there's been a timeline war for quite some time, and now the power has kind of changed hands, and this gentleman indicates that Space Force has been moving our planet temporally back to the beginning of this official Draco takeover. And he was saying things like, you guys are going to have to learn how to grow your own food. You guys are going to have to learn how to make soap and candles and bake bread again. And I was like, oh, that's amazing. That's how I grew up. We lived in a small town, and that's what everybody did. We made jams, and it was really wonderful. We had a huge garden, and food tasted like food.
Right.
It wasn't until I left home that I realized I wasn't eating food, and I learned very quickly that what I bought in the store didn't taste like what Mom had on the table. So, it's funny that you brought that point up earlier about learning how to do things to take care of ourselves, that technology and modernization, made convenient and took that knowledge away from us, and we don't sit with grandma anymore and learn how to, knead dough and bake 7 loaves of bread tonight. That's what we're doing. So all of that's been lost. And so when he said that we were having to go back to this because we're going to have to destroy part of the system that has coddled us and made life easy for us, because it was given to us under a satanic agenda. And so not only were they making life easy for us, but like you said, with, having people wear face masks because of, this flu virus that's going around, it's cutting off humanity, cutting off the connection we have to others, and making us more sterile. Not
Right.
physically sterile, but creating a sterile environment where humanity is now stunted, restricted. And we're not bringing forth that quality, that God-given quality that makes us who we are. And
I was
that's
just
what
going
I
to say
meant
we're
by
losing the God spark. That's exactly what I was thinking.
that God spark again. Yeah. See, they don't have that. The people that were born human maybe had it, but it was indoctrinated, mind controlled, and MK Ultra'd out of them. So now they're drones just receiving instructions, be it, one of these political figures, like Ms. Waters out here in California saying, we're going to be violent with these people. We're going to get violent with these, the other side, and promoting what they're doing. And you look at universities today, they're teaching all kinds of things that I don't think people's parents would be happy. They're teaching these philosophies. Your children go to college and they trust their instructors and professors because they're authority figures. And so they rely heavily on what they're saying, but at a lot of these, higher institutions, like elite institutions, you're dealing with extended cabal members. This isn't just some guy who loves his, got a degree or a PhD in a certain subject and wants to share his knowledge. No, you're getting agents. You're getting people from the farm,
Right.
the CIA farm, and they're going into institutions like Harvard and Yale and Brown and Wellesley and all of these exclusive universities, and they're teaching you doctrines from the Fourth Reich, because there's no other way to say it. When we didn't lose World War II, we partnered. We partnered with the Nazis. We brought them in, we protected them, we gave them cover, and we allowed them to continue the experiments, like you said earlier, Tamara. And then we integrated not only the work, the science, but the philosophy. Those 3 city-states, Washington, D.C., London, and what's the third one?
What is the third one? I
Rome.
know it. Yes, the Vatican,
Rome.
right?
Yes, the Vatican. So the United States became the military power of the elites, the New World Order, Illuminati, elite cabal. London became not only the financial center, but this aspect is downplayed. They became the psychological capital. All of the great psychiatrists, the most respected psychiatrists, have training out of London. And they sent these people into our universities, and they became professors. And they teach this sort of I'm not sure how to pronounce her name. It's Ayn Rand or Rand.
Rand.
Ayn Rand.
Rand. Right. Yep.
Right. They teach this sort of amalgamation of Ayn Rand philosophy mixed with subversively anyway, Madame Blavatsky teachings in there, and sort of mix them together, and that's the new education. So these people, they don't come out, thinking about ethics and personal philosophy as it relates to religion and the belief in a higher a higher power, and what that means to me when I look at the world and how I interact with the world and how can I affect a positive change, they literally come out communistic socialists.
Yes. And believing that they're elite.
I call them the new people.
Yeah.
Because these people are so strange to me. I tell my friends, I say, I don't know about these new kids. These new people, they frighten me because nothing scares them.
No, and they have no humanity left. There's no empathy. I'm watching people talk on Facebook, and they're talking about the virus, and there's a lot of them that are just like, well, good. We need to depopulate. A lot of people.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. So, like I said, you might have been born human and born with that spark, but it is getting indoctrinated out of these people and the poor children. Oh my goodness. A lawnmower just started. Did you hear it?
Can't hear it? No, we can't hear it.
Oh, okay, good. I just had a mini. So I saw my post on Justin Timberlake's video called Supplies.
Yes, I did.
The children, they want our children. They not just so they can drag them underground like monsters and keep them in those like dragon layers against their will, but the song Whitney Houston sang, "The children are our future," they know this. They've always known this. They've done this for millennia, where they will kill off, communities of people, villages of people, islands of people, and they will keep the children because the children don't know history.
Yeah.
If you pick up a rock and tell a child, that this is a telephone, they're going to believe you because they don't have the knowledge. And now you've taken their parents away, so this is just like clay in your hand, right? You can mold this person to be whatever you want to be, and they intend to mold the population into, when it comes to other humans, mini Hitlers, and when it comes to them, subservient slaves.
Right.
And
I don't want to put this out there. I'm sorry, go ahead, Freya.
I was just going to say that's where you get the people who are like, I'm going to report you because you're not socially distancing. That's where you get that from.
Yep. And what they're doing right now is, and I don't like to put it out there because I don't want that out there in the universe. So I'll just say it really quickly and think that things are going to change in the correct timeline and we're going the right way. But should people continue to agree with and allow all of these bills that they're trying to pass, that tracking or tracing bill 6666, the 4 sixes, that they're trying to push through, where they're going to say, well, we're going to come in and test you, and if anybody's positive, we're taking whoever's positive, or we're going to take the kids out of the house. And this is a mom, this concerns me, watching all of this go on, and the people who are cheering on the government for doing this stuff and continuing the shutdown, because I'm a little concerned that their ultimate goal is to separate the kids, because they're building quarantines stations for these children that have to be removed from the home. And, who's to say you're ever going to see these kids again? They're going to come in, they're going to say, oh, the parent tested positive, the kid doesn't have any place to go, we're going to take them, and they're being put into little camps, training camps. And I'm going to say that this is not going to happen and we're changing things, but, as far as what I'm seeing, that's what it looks like the plan is.
I mean, they always have a plan, though.
Right.
They always have a plan. It's just now that they're showing the plan in our faces. They used to hide it all the time.
Yeah.
So the Queen actually spoke out and said she did a little press conference or something. I can't call it a press conference, but she gave a speech on how the children need to be removed if the parents test positive. And then here they were saying the parents need to be removed if they test positive and they have children. So you can see the children are always the focus.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even Hitler had his youth group. I actually had a family friend that was in his youth group temporarily and then ended up in one of the camps. It was a couple that my parents knew. And they were like my extra set of grandparents. You know, we were really close with them, and they used to tell us stories about being in the camps, and it was just like, what are you talking about? You know, what?
You can't comprehend
we
that.
Would have to, yeah, I didn't know, you know, like I had all this compassion, you know, and you can tell they were still very, very wounded and disturbed by what happened. And I remember hearing stories about potato soup with worms in it, with maggots, and I was like, what? Like, and just, you know, horrible. But they've always been after the children, because you can tear down society and rebuild it in your image. There's a story, 107. If you're familiar with him, he's also another person that I sort of follow. I only follow like 5 people, and that I can honestly say that I follow their, you know, what they say. And he told a story about Nero, which was very, very similar to what we're talking about. Nero wanted to build Rome in his own image, so he went to his advisors and inquired on how to do that, and they consulted the spirits and said, you know, Nero, that's literally impossible what you're talking about, because Rome has such a deep and long history in Europe. Everybody knows our history. We're the most important place in Europe, and there's been thousands of years of history before you, so, you know, you can't really do what you want to do. You can't place an indelible mark on Rome. It's been done before. And there's still lingering, you know, legacies from other kings. So they said, unless what? Unless you burn it to the ground. Unless you burn it to the ground and remake it over in your image. So that's what he did. And the interesting part of what he did and how he did it was he hired mercenaries from another town. Okay, think of Antifa when I say this. He hired mercenaries from another town to come in, and he decided to have a parade on like the windiest day. He got like the weather report from the weather soothsayers, and they said, you know, this time of year is very windy, so we're going to have a big parade, and the marketplaces are going to be open, and people will have their tapestries blowing in the wind, and we will set them afire. So that's what they did, and they burned Rome down, and they said he could be heard singing and rejoicing and dancing around in his house that Rome was burning. And people were dying all around him, and he was happy because he was going to get what he wanted. So when you listen to that story and you look at the deep state, also sometimes known as the Democrats and a few rhinos, to be political, but it's not really about that. It's just about the people revealing who they really are.
Right.
Not all, Republicans are good, not all Democrats are bad. But if you look at that story about Nero and how he did things, look to the Nancy Pelosi's of the world and the Chuck Schumers and the Adam Schiffs, and then look at how they support groups like Antifa. And you will see that same story true with Nero and the people, the mercenaries that he worked with of his time. They did his bidding, they did his dirty work, he paid them, all was well. History repeats itself. So you get rid of the people who have this information and you bring up the next generation that knows nothing, and you can get your end result.
You build your own little obedient civilization.
Mm-hmm. And change. Not only that, change the course of history.
Yes. And
the reason I brought it up is when we were looking at ISIS in Afghanistan and in Iraq, and they were basically gaining a foothold there. What were some of the things that they did? They destroyed historical monuments,
Right.
places that had been there for thousands of years, and, you know, statues. They took them all down. They burned them down. They took bulldozers and knocked them down. And then we had that incident shortly after that in the United States where they were saying, you know, oh, these monuments in the South are racist. Let's destroy them. We no longer want to look at General Grant or Ulysses Grant and this person and that person because they participated in the Confederate War on the Confederate side. Okay, so what? It's been here for 300 years, for 200, I don't remember the dates, but, you know, for hundreds of years, and all of a sudden, because someone says it's a certain thing, a new certain thing, we need to get rid of our history, good, bad, or ugly, or indifferent. This is America. And that is where we came from. And you always have to look back in order to know where you're going.
Exactly.
They don't want you doing that. They don't want you to know.
This time, we get to change things and stop them.
We
right?
are changing.
Exactly.
We are changing. What we're doing here right now is changing things. The fact that we're going to speak out no matter what is changing things because we're not complying. We're not going to be these obedient. You know, 107 is famous for saying slaves no more. And he gets really passionate with it and he yells, slaves no more. We're not going to be their slaves. And if you haven't listened to anybody, I recommend listening to him because he is, you know, he's an FBI agent who works with the Q team, at least close to them anyway. And he was the one out here rallying the troops, empowering the people, you know, telling us what the plans are, what they really are, what we hope to find, and that, you know, there's people that are with us. There's people in the government that want what we want, like General Flynn.
Right.
There's people out there who want what we want. And when we were saying we can't do anything anyway, and we were throwing our hands up because nobody big enough supports us, now we have some semblance of support, even if it isn't real. You know, people are like, "Here's a psyop," and I'm sorry, I'm getting a little bit political, but I just want to just say this a little bit, and then we can move on.
Well, it all involves the same stuff, so.
Well, you know, people were saying, I don't know what to think, I don't know what to believe. And then some of us came out and said, well, even if it's a psyop, right? It taught us how to fight. He taught us how to understand that what we have to say is important. And he taught us that we do have the right to want our rights. We do have the right to rise up against a government that we find to be tyrannous. We do have the right, you know, things that we know, but they just try to drill out of your head, out of your mind, because look, it's not going to work anyway. Well, it's definitely not going to work if we don't try. And so even if it's a psyop and it's not real and it's a distraction, this thing has empowered me. People like Juan have empowered me and brought me back to the basics and let me know that, you know, we are God's creatures. We're important. We are the world. And if it wasn't for us, you know, nothing much would be going on here. So we need to take all of this very seriously, and we need to respect ourselves, our lives, and we need to have respect for other people and their lives, and we need to come together as a community. This bickering, you should hear what my guide says about the way that we bicker and fight. He thinks he's got some choice words that he thinks about us in that regard. He's like, you guys are so silly. You're so silly. I don't understand this fighting, you know. At the time when we need to be one voice, one people united, and we need to support each other and fight together for what we want, for the future, you know, that Eve said that we deserve. You don't know that you deserve a beautiful life. You don't know that you deserve to be free, to think on your own, to make your own decisions. And that, you know, I was talking to my roommate recently about, no one working. And he's like, oh my God, I'm going crazy not working. And I was like, really? This is the best thing ever. This is life. You know why? Because now I have time I'm still working though, but I have more time to think for myself because I'm not in a 2-hour commute going home and going in. But you have time to think for yourself. You have time to think of projects that you can do to help humanity, express yourself, bring creativity into the world. I never liked work. I love my job. I love what I do. I love my industry to a certain extent, but it's very corrupt. I'm passionate about what I do, but I always thought if I wasn't slaving away 50, 60, 70 hours a week at this job, what would I be doing? And how happy would I be? How much more would I be enjoying my life? And what kind of creative thing, that came from Freya would I give to the world that would represent me? I was always so thrilled about wanting to do something. I never came up with anything, but wanting to do something and saying, this came from Freya and nobody else can do this. This is Freya's contribution. This came from me. This has my energy signature on it. It has my signature on it. And this is my gift to you. And this is how I want to be remembered. I don't get to do that when I'm designing, aircraft every day. And I might get to sign a paper, but my name never gets mentioned anywhere. No one's like, hey,
right.
Freya designed this diddly-do on this plane. No, it's one of the most thankless jobs out there. I mean, that's fine. I'm still happy to do my part, but it isn't me. This is a design somebody told me to do or whatever the case is. And it isn't me. It doesn't represent me. And when I leave, no one's ever going to know that I was here. But if things were different and you could do what you wanted to do, and then you were supported, they sent you to the finest institutions that, would teach you what you wanted to do. And then you could perfect what you wanted. It could be music or anything. And then you could create your own. We're creators, just like our Father is a creator. We instinctively and naturally want to create and we want to give of ourselves. That is real human nature. And that is the thing they're trying to take away from us because that is our power, actually. That's our power, our creativity, exactly. The ways that we reflect our Father and the ways that they reflect theirs.
Yeah, and it's interesting, the lockdown thing has given some people to kind of reflect and reconnect, even though that's the opposite, I think, of what they're trying to accomplish with this. But a lot of us are coming together and talking and have time to sit down and breathe and connect with our families again. And it definitely has had a lot of positives.
Absolutely. The one thing, there's always a caveat. They don't think about these things because they can't. They're not human. So they don't think that, once these people have some free time, they're actually going to have their own thoughts again to themselves that we manipulate 90% of the time, that we take up that space. They're going to have that space. They're going to talk about these things we don't want them to talk about. They're going to sit in themselves and think and reflect and connect back up to our source. Right? That's what we're going to do with our free time. We're going to want to go out in nature, go for a walk and contemplate. That's just what we do, and go to the beach and sit by the water and think. That's why they took away all the time we had to do that, because that's our connection, and it gets stronger the more you use it. That's why you can't go to the beach. That's why you can't go for a walk in the park. That part they remembered.
Yeah. We are on the way to make that all backfire on them, I'm sure of it. And it's, despite it's looking a little bit daunting and the things that are happening, I think overall, just the groups that I see, and just in the people that I talk to in my social media, that there are people that are coming around and saying, this is ridiculous. is that, that they can see how they've been being enslaved and how they've been being deceived with all of this, and the people who are being exposed for what their real agendas are coming to light. And it's nice to see some of the people that I never thought would come around start to message me. And I'm getting lots of messages. I'm on the computer all day long and, asking questions and what's going on. And so I have a lot of hope and positive feelings that we're going in the right direction, despite some of the scary stuff that is out there.
Yeah, you really should. I mean, I've just heard people. I have a friend that I've known, for 4 years on Facebook. And he sent me a video, and a YouTube video, and he said, "Would you mind subscribing to my channel?" I was like, "You have a channel?" He was never a Twitter. He was never.
Oh,
he was
funny.
never. He was just somebody that I knew. I used to be part of this really, really big kind of new age community that was on Facebook. I think it's still there. And I met him in that community, but we weren't like truthing. I mean, we were truthing in a way, but we weren't like, we were just trying to discover life, as a bunch of kids, and what that meant for us, and what we needed to do to find ourselves, kind of thing. It was spiritual. The connotation was spiritual, but it wasn't really like, we're learning the truth and we're going to do something about that. It wasn't sort of motivated. It was just more discussion based. Well, I met him in there, and he was just, whatever. He was part of the system. He was going to college, and then he graduated and getting a job, and then probably on his way to getting married and having children, the whole formula. And then he sent me this YouTube video, and it's a Q video too. And I was like, "You follow Q?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm new to it. I've been following for the past 3 months." And I'm like, whoa. Family members are calling me and saying, "Okay, look, I'm sorry. You were right. I'm sorry I didn't listen. I'm starting to see for myself what's happening." And the COVID-19 did this. It woke people up. Like, there was some other major event that happened, and I remember laughing. I can't remember what it was specifically, but I was like, it always backfires, you guys, on the cabal, and they end up red pilling people. And I get the biggest laugh out of that, because I'm like, well, you always take a hit whenever you go to these extremes, but it doesn't stop you. So we'll take the people. It's a fair exchange.
Right? That's funny. Well, thank goodness that we bounce back and come back, and that it backfires on them, and that the things are going in a good direction at this point. And like you said, like I'm getting messages from people I never in a million years. I didn't even know that they were paying attention to my page, which really makes me laugh, because I've got people who are messaging me who have been like, "I've been reading your page for a year and I never say anything and I can't say it, but this is awesome." And they're sending me videos and stuff now. So it's super exciting to see that the mindset is changing and not everybody's walking around as a zombie. It's good.
They're really not. They're really not. People are waking up, especially right now, more than I've ever seen. I mean, it's like whenever I go on Facebook, there's just like comments about, "Oh my God, the people waking up." And I'm like, really, where? I'm not seeing, I'm aware of it, but it's not happening to me necessarily personally. California is waking up like nobody's business and has been. So proud of everyone here.
Speaking of that, did you see San Diego had a protest yesterday? Yesterday or this morning? Yesterday or this morning down in the Embarcadero. And they had thousands of people down there, which I was thrilled to see. It's my people out there are starting to fight back.
That's great. I mean, you couldn't be more proud of people here, because California, gets such a bad rap from people. I'm like, it's really not what you think. We're not Hollywood. There's so many grassroots people, California was a big 1960s power to the people, grassroots sort of place, right? kind of the hippie thing, but you know, hippies believed in something. They knew that they didn't like war, and that they were against the Vietnam War. So they were always standing in their principles and promoting humanity, you know, all good things. Well, those people didn't go away. They're still here. So we have a giant grassroots sort of revolutionary population that's now older, but they've always been informed. Like Deborah Tavares. I love her.
I love her. She's amazing. She is so great.
I love her.
Deborah Tavares. Is that how you say it, Tavares? Evie, I think Tavares. I think I've sent you a video of her. She goes through these different government documents, and she speaks out about a lot of stuff, but one of the original ones that she did, she was going through a page that NASA had on their website that talks about how they were going to take down, basically, wasn't it taking down the population and the different kinds of, now I'm losing my train of thought. I can't remember what it was, but the different ways that they were going to take control of the population and depopulate, basically kind of NWO stuff. And then she goes around and she speaks, but she's amazing, and she knows what she's talking about, and she's not afraid to speak out.
Yeah, she's been doing this since 2000, and she's been talking about 5G before we, ever knew about 5G. Talking about this supposed water shortage in California, which is a farce. She's been talking about all of that for 20 years, and no one was listening. I discovered her, 5 years ago maybe, and she's amazing. And the document that she discovered was a DARPA war document. It was literally a war document, and when so someone found it on a copier, and I think it was being sent to NASA. I'm not really sure if it was already there or on its way, but it was being sent to NASA, the space program people, which is completely weird, right? But this document was talking about warfare against the American people. Or the human population, silent war, which has to do with like these technologies, RFI and 5G and all the other things, you know, sonic weapons, and how to target the human population and quietly kill us. But the more interesting part of this was like this document, I guess, was found, and it was used to make the movie The Matrix from.
I did not know that.
It was based on this. Yeah. The Wachowski brothers got a hold of that document and wrote the movie based on that document. So the story goes. Yeah.
Interesting. Oh, and like we always say, they always tell us in TV and movies.
They really do. Like, what's that expression? Something mirrors fiction, or
truth is stranger than fiction. That's not the right one.
Truth is in fiction, or something like that. Yeah, I can't quite remember, but everything, you know, comes from something real, like a war document or some kind of intelligence that they've been privy to and we're not. And we think, oh, that's wonderful entertainment. And there's some kind of technology they've already developed and it's in the works, or it's already saturated in the black market and they're using it against us and we don't know about it, but they're getting real intelligence in Hollywood.
Right. And doesn't that kind of come back to the cabal stuff too, is that they're telling us this to our face, and not only are we sitting and laughing and enjoying it, we're paying for it, and we're giving them our consent for them to continue and to control us with this stuff and do what they're doing, right?
Yeah, we're giving them our consent and we're funding it. That's the part that makes me upset. I won't give these people my money if I can help it. Like, I just go out of my way, because I mean, they use taxpayer dollars to fund the Wuhan laboratory. Where did that money come from? These black projects are funded by taxpayers. I was like, I thought we were broke as a country, right? And then you look at all of these black budget, budgets, and they're astronomical. They're in the trillions.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I keep saying. Whether here or in Germany or wherever, that it's a lie that there is not enough money, but that's how separation is being created. Like, let's say there are groups of people who say, oh, the migrants, they don't have to do anything, they just receive money from the government, and that's not fair. What about all the homeless people we have? And I'm like, there is money for literally everyone in this world to be rich and healthy and happy. I mean, it's not about money in the end, right? But there is enough for everyone. But
Yep.
It's one of the basic big lies that we are being told, that there isn't enough. And we're always trying to achieve something that's in the future so that one day we will have enough. Enough money, enough love, enough, I don't know, chocolate. So that's the biggest lie.
They operate in a state of lack, and they teach us to operate in that same state. And it's not for them. They don't lack anything. They want us to be conditioned to operate in the state of lack. I remember when I was a child, it literally freaks me out when I think about when I was a child and I look at today, how different things were. When I was growing up, it was, oh, the American dream, and you can do anything and you can be anything. And then it got to going to college and getting close to graduation, and then you hear there's no jobs, there's no work, there's no jobs, you're not going to get a job, you're going to have all this debt. And it started before we could even get our foot out the door from college, this panic mode. And then you just stay in the mode because there literally are not enough jobs anymore. And how are you going to live, and how are you going to do this, and how are you going to be successful, and how are you going to be rich? Because they're always dangling that rich carrot in front of your faces, so that you're always chasing, like you said, and you're forgetting how to live. You're forgetting how to, be who you are, and you're forgetting how to be successful in yourself.
Right. And then they model for us with all the people on YouTube that all the kids are being trained to think that everybody's rich and famous and on YouTube, and social media stars and the Kardashians, and then they don't understand why when they get done with school that they're not automatically handed a Ferrari and a mansion.
Absolutely. It's just conditioning, because they dangle that carrot in front of you so that you're never satisfied with you.
Yeah,
and you're always looking around. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up without social media, and still I was taught the same way. I saw all the happy, healthy, rich celebrities, and I'm like, I want to go to Hollywood. Like, and now I'm like, oh my good that I never really was that serious about going there. Good that I realized early enough what's going on there. But it gives them energy too, if you send your energy to it, thinking, they are so wonderful, I want to live like that too, and then they're receiving all of that energy. It's crazy. And I'm like, how could I ever think that people there are happy?
They're not. They're in the slave system as well.
Yeah.
They have a slave hierarchy that they honor to the letter. If you get out of line, you learn about it really quickly, and usually in the press. very fast your nudes come out that no one knew that you took, whatever they compromised you with, or something nefarious that you were involved in gets leaked, or, I mean, it's just absolutely the control system. You think they control us. The control system they have on Hollywood is insane. But in terms of like operating from this perspective of lack, I was trying to tell people when CV-19 hit that these shortages were manufactured. And I knew it right away when there weren't any paper products. I was thinking, how does it make sense that we're being sent home to self-quarantine and you're not worried about food and water and things of that nature and medicines? You're worried about toilet paper and towels, paper products, that you bought them in, such quantities that before we even knew this was going to happen, they were already out. So when we went there, it was gone. And you just have this feeling of like, oh my goodness, where are the paper products? How am I going to do this and that and this that I need them for? So they started this internal panic. You start doubting, am I going to make it through this? What else is going to go missing? It was all manufactured. And then I had this feeling, but I wasn't saying anything. And then I saw Nancy Pelosi give her speech with giant toilet paper earrings. And to me, I was like, that was my confirmation that I was right. I know it sounds ridiculous, right?
No, it's completely true.
They talk in symbols, right? And
yeah.
And she walks out with these ridiculous, giant toilet paper hoop earrings. And she has this smirk on her face. She's like almost snickering at the podium. And she's trying to stop herself. And I'm just looking and I am infuriated. I am so mad because I know what's going on. I know what those earrings mean. It is not funny. They did this on purpose. So then it was, oh, there's a milk shortage. Oh my goodness, there's a meat shortage. And so there's hardly anything left to eat at this point. And then I see farmers coming out and saying, we're having to put our cows down because stores are not buying our supplies at the normal rate. They're not buying milk at the normal rate. So we're having to dig a ditch and pour it, basically down the drain. And I was like, what? The stores are empty. For a while, the stores were empty, right? And they're having to put their animals down and pour out, dairy products. Really? No, so none of that made sense to me, and I got even more incensed. And I said, all of this is being manufactured so they can make us panic, so they can make people that are suffering continue to suffer, people who were busy working hard at their jobs and didn't have time or the money or the resources to stock up in advance. And now they're going to starve. And now they're going to put out all of this energy, right? This energy of despair and self-doubt and depression and hopelessness because they just lost their jobs and they don't have any food, and they're saying, go home and don't leave the house. And they have children, that are hungry. This is disgusting what's going on. And all of it was manufactured. Right. Because 2-3 weeks later, Trump says, I have to get the military involved to make sure that there's a steady supply of food, and there was food again. Or like a month or 2 months later, now the stores are completely stocked again. How is that possible? Nobody's back to work.
Magic.
Does the military do all of this? Right. Yeah, magically it's over. And that's how the cabal works. Something massive happens, causes us to panic, and then it's over and you never hear anything about it again because we will forget. And they're counting on it so they can do it again.
They'll just drag us on to the next trauma and nobody will remember the last one.
Now, in that regard, they are pretty stupid, but then again, they're not because it works every single time, doesn't it?
Yeah, we do it. Every time.
That's why we've got to wake up and make that a priority.
Yeah, for sure. And at least this time, like we said, people, they're getting exposed. And so people are starting to see it this time. We've got hopefully the good people in charge, and they're starting to, the bad people or the cabal are starting to be exposed for what they're actually doing. And their evil nature is showing. I mean, just the soulless things and these governors and the things that they're doing to people. And most of all with this stimulus package stuff is just so completely unreasonable, and the things that they're putting in there. And there's families that are jobless and starving and can't feed their kids, and some of this unemployment is not coming through. Florida is having a very hard time with their unemployment funding. And a lot of these people are in the restaurant industry, and they have no jobs, and they've got kids, and it's not the standard of living down here. People live on lower incomes, and they depend on the restaurant and tourism trade. And they're up there in Washington, and they're worried about funding the Kennedy Center. And they're going to stop the funds from coming through over these massive corporations, and people are going to get angry, or hopefully they're going to get angry, do something.
Yeah, hopefully, because it's absolutely horrible that they are willing to just throw Americans under the bus. People who pay their salary too, by the way.
Yeah, and they're all on vacation. They're not coming in,
yes,
but they're still getting paid. They didn't get laid off.
They really don't care, and I hope people finally see that they don't care about us, and never have, and never will. And if this, hardship always makes us, wake up. So I hope that's what's happening. I mean, I don't hope people are having hardships, but I do hope people are being pinched and pushed enough that they have no choice but to wake up. It looks like that is happening, but these guys are just getting started.
Right.
They're at the point, I always picture them having like these overlords that are like, you get it done or it's your hiney, like this is your life or death situation, because the fact that they keep coming back, like a remote control car, that's just what popped in my head. And sometimes it'll like hit the wall and they can't turn itself around and it just keeps hitting the wall. That's how these politicians keep coming back with this like really ridiculous stuff, like these bills, and it just gets more and more cynical. It gets more and more evil, and it gets more and more obvious what their true nature is and where their allegiances lie. So the fact that they're willing to keep coming and like keep doing these false flags, and no matter how obvious it looks to, the awakened individual or just someone in general, they keep doing it. So there must be someone over their head.
Right. Yeah, it just gets to the point where it's so ridiculous. Right.
It is, but they don't stop. And that's why I get people think they're stupid, but they're not stupid. They're just controlled. And I really think Nancy, her life is on the line. It's not just we're the evil club and we're happy to be evil. There's, people pulling these strings and threatening their lives. So Obama doesn't care, that he's no longer president. He's going to shadow the, current president. He's going to comment about how he's so worried that General Flynn was pardoned. Why are you even talking about this? Why do you care? You already were president. Shouldn't you be off golfing somewhere or whatever ex-presidents do? So you can see that there is a strong push to figure and bring about these agendas, but do we ever think about how high these agendas go? Do we just stop at politics and leave it there? Because that's not where it ends.
And that might be a topic for another day, is to take a look at that next level and who's really got the control of these people that are pushing the New World agenda, because I think even a lot of the awake people don't go past that. You know, they get to the NWO and the WHO and these global corporations, and they know that there's kind of this world plan going on, and maybe they've gotten to the 13 families part, but then they kind of stop. So that would be an interesting conversation for another day, because that's a whole other probably 3 or 4 hour talk.
Yeah, I'm excited and looking forward to that. So we're coming to the end of the show, and do you guys want to spread out some positive ending?
Well, I just want to say that regardless of what we're seeing, I have faith in humanity. I know that the one thing that we all have in common is that we just want to be happy. You know, that's real human nature. We just want to be happy. We just want to thrive. We just want to kind of be left alone to do whatever it is we came here to do. And I really think that when that mechanism is turned on, and I think it is turning on in people, that we are going to get there. That's my true belief. Regardless of the struggles, we can make it.
And I agree with Freya. I think that, like I was saying earlier, despite the kind of ominous and scary things that look like they're going on right now, it is people being able to wake up and see what has been going on underneath the surface, and that it's going to bring us together and make us all realize that, you know, that we, like Freya said, we want to be happy and we don't need to be living like this. And just the human consciousness coming together and realizing that we're powerful and positive, and that these people have been feeding off of us for so long, there's going to be a big turnaround, and the change is coming.
Absolutely. Spring is coming. And yeah, I just can confirm what you guys just said. Things will be all right. It will still be a bit chaotic for, I don't know, a little time, but things are changing already, and they will become much, much better. Yes, thank you for being on the show, and I'm just very happy about that, and I hope very, very soon we'll have another amazing talk. Thank you everyone for listening. This was Colors of the Universe on Ascension Radio, Studio 3.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, Freya. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Colors of the Universe here at Studio 3 on Ascension Radio. If you enjoy what we're doing, please send a donation via the PayPal button on radio.mpeg.org. Find more amazing content and updates on our Facebook page. And now, just be your colorful self and enjoy your day.